Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It is Wednesday, February the 6th. Today is National Lame Duck Day. Well, that's kind of lame. It's also National Frozen Yogurt Day. And if you want some of that, just get regular yogurt and go outside this time of year. See? It's also National Girls and Women in Sports Day. All of that happening on this Wednesday, February the 6th. I've got a really cool guest coming up today, Heidi.
Okay.
Today, we're going to visit with Catherine Hardwicke. She's the director and producer and designer that has done a ton of amazing movies. Twilight, back in 2008, rather, so 11 years ago.
Sure.
That was hers. Also 13, Lords of Dogtown. Now she's got a new movie that's in theaters right now called MissBala. I've got a link to the trailer in our show notes. Holy cow, I think we need to see this. It's a pretty cool-looking movie.
All right.
And it's based on several true stories, I believe. I'm going to ask her about that. Anyway, it's all coming up on today's, I was going to say Movie Star Monday. It's just a Wednesday. It's just a really cool Wednesday, that's all. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Do you have a pretty good sense of humor? You might like this. Early in the morning each day and every day, we share something weird to make people laugh at WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. You don't need to sign up for anything. You don't even need to spend a penny. Just follow the page on Facebook and get a smile to start each day when we share the Weird Gift of the Day. Not on Facebook? That's okay. You can see the weird gifts on our website too. WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. That's WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com.
Time now for surveys and studies and such. Axios poll finds 70% of Americans think the economy is rigged to favor the rich and would be willing to back a candidate who would, quote, unquote, fix things. So, I don't know about that. I don't know that the economy is rigged for anybody, really. I think the economy is the economy. And what you need to understand, I'm not rich by any means, so take it from me because I'm certainly not rich. But a lot of the people who are doing well are also the ones who are employing other people.
I would back a candidate that intended to implement the fair tax.
That would be kind of cool. I everything I've read about it, I look at it and go, that does seem, well, like its name's called, fair.
It's fair.
But do I think that we have no issues the way things are now? No. I think there's probably a better way to do a lot of things, but I don't know. It's just an interesting poll. If you want to read all the details, that's in our surveys and studies and such section of the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com. Credit cards. For years, I didn't use credit cards. We paid off all of our debt and we quit using credit altogether. But then our credit score went down. It was affecting our insurance rates. Not sure why, but that's tied to your credit score. I'm not suggesting you rack up credit card debt just to rack up credit card debt. But my wife and I now each use a credit card and then we pay them off every month. It's helped our credit score. But not all cards are the same. Some cards are better than others. If you'd like to find one that's the best fit for you, check out bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net. And this is your brain on drugs. According to criminal complaint, a Florida man is behind bars after stealing what he thought were hydrocodone pills, but they turned out to be laxatives. I think we talked a little bit about this.
Yeah, we did. We mentioned it.
It was not the prescription opioids, but instead it was laxatives. 56-year-old Peter Hans Emery took the pills from a lockbox at a victim's home. And it says here he was recorded by video camera entering the victim's lockbox, selecting a pill bottle, pouring the pills into his hand, and then leaving. He then subsequently discovered that he had not swiped the painkillers he thought, but it was a bunch of dosages of Equate Gentle Laxative. Promises predictable overnight relief from constipation. He was booked into the jail. Hopefully his jail cell included
Exactly, some lavatories.
Yeah. So he also has some other prior theft convictions. He's facing probation in connection with this drug stealing. He was arrested with the illegal possession of painkillers, which is a different crime. So he just did some dumb stuff.
Yeah.
But boy, what a funny way to find out. Thanks for listening. This is definitely what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
Now, big screen, little screen, Robert De Niro's wife, Grace Hightower, says that she wants their divorce details to be made public so people can hear how he treated her. What do you think about that, having the divorce details for anybody made public? I don't know if that's a good idea.
I don't know why that's necessary.
I think there's going to be a lot of contentious things, some of which could be proven, some of which could be hearsay. I don't know if that's a good idea. And by no means am I saying that I think that Robert De Niro seems like a nice guy because everything I've seen
Yeah,
him,
I don't
think he does.
seems like a nice guy at all.
And I used to really like him too. I was like, wow, he's cool. I think he was a really good actor. And then it just seems like he's maybe not necessarily a nice person, I guess. But she wants to make that very public, and he's not a fan of that idea. Jenny McCarthy, you remember Jenny?
Vaguely.
She is one of the judges on the new show, The Masked Singer. She's the only one who believed in the show from the beginning. She said, I think the premise is weird, but she liked the idea, and it's become a pretty big success. So she's one of the judges, but she's the only one that believed in the show from the get-go. I think that's kind of cool. This has been Big Screen, Little Screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com.
Join us in Las Vegas for 80s in the Desert. Hear awesome 80s music from Scandal, featuring Patti Smythe, A Flock of Seagulls, Richard Page of Mr. Mister, Tony Lewis from The Outfield, Pretty Poison, Thomas Dolby, and more. Also, meet people from your favorite 80s movies, like Robert Hayes from Airplane, E.G. Daily from Valley Girl, and more. May 3rd and May 4th. Get more info now at 80sinthedesert.rocks. Use promo code RADIO to save $25 per ticket.
Now your scoop of the day, brought to you by FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. Ariana Grande is in the news. She had a tattoo that was supposed to say one thing, and it said something different. It said barbecue grill in Japanese. The artist then fixed it, but it turns out that now it says barbecue finger. What? You might want to go to a different tattoo
You might want to go to
artist.
somebody else.
How many times are you going to get it fixed? That is just crazy. And the Beatles, they broke up back in 1969. It was April 18th, 1969. Well, the breakup letter from the Beatles is currently on sale. How much do you suppose it's on sale for,
Oh, my
Heidi?
gosh, I couldn't even begin to imagine.
$325,000. I honestly thought it would be more than that.
Oh, 1,000. I was thinking it'd be more than that, too.
Yeah, $325,000. The Beatles breakup letter from 1969 is
But that's where
currently
it's
on sale.
starting, right? It's like an
Well,
auction.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not going to buy it, so I haven't clicked on that. So I don't know.
Wow.
Scientists in Copenhagen have discovered a human numbing parasite that is spread by cats and could cause schizophrenia in humans. So that's disturbing. Good to know, I guess. Samsung is ditching the plastic packaging on their phones and are going to replace it with environmentally friendly alternatives. I think a lot of people should ditch some of the plastic packaging that's so hard to get into. I understand. You don't want me to steal the toy off the shelf. But you do want me to play with it sometime, right? So make it so I don't need to have a whole tool chest to get into it. It is crazy how hard it is to get into some of these things. A U.S. Navy sailor was arrested in Japan after he walked naked through a family's home. That is kind of crazy. Wonder what happened there.
I have no idea.
I've got a link to the story if you want to read all about it. Ticketmaster study. So study by Ticketmaster found that NFL fans spend an hour of 46 hours. What? Spend an hour of 46 hours a month thinking about their team? I wonder if that's supposed to be an hour and 46. What?
I have no idea what you're trying to say.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'll read it to you. A study by Ticketmaster found NFL fans spend an hour of 46 hours a month thinking about their team. That doesn't make any sense. I wonder if an average of is probably what it's supposed to be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe an average of 46 hours a month. That's a lot of time thinking about a sports team.
Now it says average, so I'm going to fix that in the show notes, too. Otherwise, anybody reading this on their own is going to wonder what in the world is wrong with John. Study by Ticketmaster found that they spend an average of 46 hours a month thinking about their team. I'm not a big sports guy because I don't have time for it, apparently. So I don't know where I would squeeze that in. A study by Johns Hopkins University found that a species of octopus that has antisocial tendencies will actually become friendlier after taking the club drug known as Molly. What are you doing
Why
here?
are we doing this?
So they've got an octopus that's like a loner hanging out by himself in his corner of the aquarium, and they feed him Molly.
So
and then he's over there like, hey, ladies, how's it going? Snapping all 8 of my tentacles here. That probably didn't work real well with
Why
radio.
are we drugging
I don't know.
an octopus?
Don't understand. Here's what probably happened. There's probably somebody in there taking Molly, and they got caught, and they're like, no, I'm feeding it to the octopus to see how they respond. Yeah, that's the ticket.
That's the ticket.
And one last story here. Atlanta police arrested a man who led them on a high-speed chase in a U-Haul. Can you imagine that? He was hauling, Heidi. The U-Haul driver was charged with reckless endangerment. You suppose he got a moving violation?
Oh, my gosh. Wow. That was special.
I saved that till the very end, just for that. Was it worth it?
Oh, yes.
Probably not.
That was amazing.
You can tell that later today. So, again, Atlanta police arrested a man. He was speeding in a U-Haul. Reckless endangerment is what he got. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday.
Do you have IRS tax problems? Are they keeping you up at night? Afraid to open your own mail or even answer your telephone? If your tax problems are affecting your family life, you need to know you have options. You have rights, and we'll make sure you get them. Call and speak with Mike Habib, the tax expert who will handle your case at 877-78-TAXES or online at myirs.taxrelief.com. That's 877-78-TAXES or myirs.taxrelief.com.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Super excited to visit with Hollywood director Catherine Hardwicke. You may know her from the director of the Twilight movie. We've also got her as many other things. She's got a new movie in theaters right now. Catherine, how are you doing today?
I'm great. We just had our premiere last night Wednesday night in Los Angeles. Super fun.
And this new movie, MissBala, let's talk a little bit about the concept for the movie and where the concept came from.
Yeah, there was a story about a narco-novia, a Mexican drug lord several years ago that kind of kidnapped a beauty contestant and then kind of turned her into like a Patty Hearst type situation. She started working for the cartel, and that inspired our Mexican partners to write this cool story. And in our story, Gina Rodriguez, played by Gloria, is an American that goes down to Mexico to help her friend on a beauty pageant, and they both kind of get kidnapped by a cartel. And so it's a story where an ordinary girl, a makeup artist, has to find courage, strength, and use her wits to save herself from a crazy situation.
And so it's kind of inspired by something that happened, but it's not necessarily, a true story, in other words.
Right. It's inspired by, actually, there are quite a few stories of the narco-novias in Mexico. So this is kind of inspired by that, yes.
Well, it looks like a fascinating movie, and I'm reading online a lot of very positive reviews, so that's got to make you feel really good.
All right. Love it. Yay.
And now let's talk about how you got your start as a Hollywood director. What was it that said when little Catherine was saying, "I want to do this for a living"? What was it that kind of drew you to that as a child?
Well, as a child, as a young little Catherine, I wanted to be an architect. So I first went to University of Texas and got my degree in architecture, which I loved. And it's kind of similar to film because in architecture you start with a blank piece of land, and you have to pre-visualize building a whole building there. And with a film, you start with a script with words on a page, and then you have to make it into an exciting movie. So I kind of transitioned into, becoming a filmmaker and a storyteller.
So instead of building buildings, you're building movies, which is really kind of cool.
Exactly.
Along the way, you've had a chance to be the director of a bunch of different things. Twilight, of course, everybody's heard of Twilight, but there's others on the list here as well, like 13 and Lords of Dogtown. Are there certain projects that you look back and just say, boy, if I want to be known for something, I hope I'm known for this one?
Well, I love the ones that you just talked about. 13 was super intense. I co-wrote it with a 13-year-old girl, and it's her true story. And then Evan Rachel Wood, it's kind of her breakout role. She's now the star of Westworld, but at that time was the youngest person to be nominated for a Golden Globe. She's amazing in it, and Holly Hunter got Academy Award nomination for it. So that was a beautiful project. Lords of Dogtown could not have been more fun. It was like the summer that you wish you could live in your whole life, skateboarding around Venice, amazing, and surfing. And then Twilight was just, fantastic to be up in the Pacific Northwest and film in the beautiful woods, do that crazy love story, So I loved all those projects, and I love MissBala. I was very excited when we got to film it in Mexico, all in Tijuana. So you see a city that you've never really seen before on film. And it's very beautiful.
When you were working, let's kind of go back to Twilight for a second. When you were working on that, in the very early stages, did you have any idea what a huge success that would become, or did that even surprise you guys?
It did surprise us because every studio in Hollywood turned it down. Like, Paramount was going to make it, then they decided it won't make any money because the film for, young girls and women, they're not usually very successful. So they didn't want to give us very much money. They didn't believe it was going to be a big success. And so opening weekend cut to, $69 million opening weekend. Kind of shocked everybody.
Well, I think that's awesome, and I hope that you have the same kind of success with Miss Bala that's out in theaters right now. And I know the early signals are saying that you're going to do well with it. I know there's a lot of very excited people about this movie, so I hope that it goes just as well as Twilight.
Yay! Well, thank you so much. It's a real action-packed kind of thrill ride. A lot of explosions and crazy stuff. So I think it's got something for everybody, and it's really kind of entertaining. And Gina Rodriguez is amazing in it, too.
I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. It's called Miss Bala. It's in theaters right now. I like the little tagline, who would you become to save your family? And if you think about that, when you get put in a position where it's, I got to look out for the ones I love, I think people they'll kind of do whatever they have to do, won't they?
Yeah. It is a good test. You can put yourself in her position. What would I do? How would I survive this? Again,
Catherine Hardwicke, Hollywood director, on the line with us right now. Catherine, thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Have fun.
And the movie is called Miss Bala. It's on the big screen right now, and I'm going to throw a link in our show notes to a trailer so you can see all of the details and everything. You'll find that in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com. Credit cards. For years, I didn't use credit cards. We paid off all of our debt and we quit using credit altogether. But then our credit score went down. It was affecting our insurance rates. Not sure why, but that's tied to your credit score. I'm not suggesting you rack up credit card debt just to rack up credit card debt. But my wife and I now each use a credit card and then we pay them off every month. It's helped our credit score. But not all cards are the same. Some cards are better than others. If you'd like to find one that's the best fit for you, check out bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Carrots were originally purple, not orange. The root vegetable is closely identified with the color orange as anything else, including oranges. Carrots were originally purple, not orange. The variety that we have now was originated in the region of Afghanistan, spread throughout the Persian Empire. And it says, according to the Carrot Museum, there's a Carrot Museum, the western orange carrot probably arose in Europe or in western Mediterranean regions. Gradually, through gradual selection with yellow carrots populations, they became orange. So that's how that happened. They were an important basis for western carrot culture, and they're all over the world now. But they used to be purple,
fascinating,
and now they're orange. So that is definitely a fun fact. Maybe not easy to read, but it's a fun fact. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday.
Join us in Las Vegas for 80s in the Desert. Hear awesome 80s music from Scandal, featuring Patty Smythe, A Flock of Seagulls, Richard Page of Mr. Mister, Tony Lewis from The Outfield, Pretty Poison, Thomas Dolby, and more. Also, meet people from your favorite 80s movies, like Robert Hayes from Airplane, E.G. Daily from Valley Girl, and more. May 3rd and May 4th. Get more info now at 80sinthedesert.rocks. Use promo code RADIO to save $25 per ticket.
Now fear this. Time for fun with phobias. Heidi Phobia. H-A-D-E-P-H-O-B-I-A. Heidi Phobia. What do you think that is? Heidi Phobia. I've heard your name pronounced Heidi, but it's Heidi.
Heidi.
Heidi Phobia.
Heidi.
What do you think that is?
Fear of hell?
Yes. Good job. You just got it. I can't believe it. You got one right. I didn't know how to respond exactly. Did you cheat? All right. That is correct. That is today's Fun with Phobias.
Do you have a pretty good sense of humor? You might like this. Early in the morning each day and every day, we share something weird to make people laugh at WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. You don't need to sign up for anything. You don't even need to spend a penny. Just follow the page on Facebook and get a smile to start each day when we share the Weird Gift of the Day. Not on Facebook? That's okay. You can see the weird gifts on our website too. WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. That's WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com.
Now some weird news brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. Military prosecutors say a Navy sailor is accused of setting a urine sample on fire during a routine screening back in May. So it was just a routine screening. They were going to check for something. He decided he'd try to light it on fire. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. That's why it's weird news today. Logistics specialist, third class, Curtis DeJean Johnson, tried to light his urine sample on fire. He did this in order to prevent the results of the urinalysis from being used against him in an adverse administrative proceeding. Yeah, because, lighting the place on fire is going to be a lot better. I don't understand what the point was. Do you?
No.
It says he made a false statement, aggravated arson, wrongful interference with adverse administrative proceedings. Anyway, he got himself in a whole bucket load of trouble, and he was still on post after the alleged arson, but he had tried to light the urine on fire in an occupied building, which is even worse. So I don't understand what he was doing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel bad for the guy, whatever he's going through, but that's not the answer. So I have a link to that story if you want to read all about it. Many details I didn't go into on the radio because, even just saying urine 3 times isn't really my favorite thing in a story. But
You're so funny when it comes to
I just don't want to talk
certain
about
words.
I don't want to, because there's people listening. They don't want to talk about that. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh, brought to you by FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. A man who was driving on a suspended license when he crashed his car in the Lowcountry told deputies that he was an undercover officer for their agency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice try.
They said that probably isn't the case. He couldn't come up with any ID to prove that. 38-year-old Jonathan Matthew Marie said he was an undercover cop employed by the sheriff's office.
Mm-hmm.
He was obviously unable to present any real law enforcement credentials. According to the office, he was charged with driving under suspension, reckless driving, and impersonating a law enforcement officer.
It's like, of course I don't have ID. I'm undercover.
I can't show you
Duh.
that. I'm undercover. So undercover, even the boss probably. He'll act confused when you call him. I mean, that's how undercover I am. You should let me go quick before, you get in trouble over this.
Before you lose your job.
I don't want you. I'm just looking out for you. I don't want you to get in trouble. Yeah, bad idea. But certainly helps make today's moment of duh. Credit cards. For years, I didn't use credit cards. We paid off all of our debt and we quit using credit altogether. But then our credit score went down. It was affecting our insurance rates. Not sure why, but that's tied to your credit score. I'm not suggesting you rack up credit card debt just to rack up credit card debt. But my wife and I now each use a credit card and then we pay them off every month. It's helped our credit score. But not all cards are the same. Some cards are better than others. If you'd like to find one that's the best fit for you, check out bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net. All right, Heidi, it's time now for these 3 things. You tell me, what do these 3 things have in common? I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say you're going to get this right.
Okay.
All right. Don't let me down, Heidi. What do these 3 things have in common? Roxanne, Splash, and Wall Street. Roxanne, Splash, Wall Street. What do these 3 things have in common?
Well, they're all movies.
Okay, but more specifically, they're all what kind of movies?
Comedies.
But there's somebody that's in all 3 of them.
Well, Steve Martin was in
No.
Roxanne.
I thought you'd get this right. They're all Daryl Hannah movies.
Oh, Daryl Hannah was in all 3? I didn't know she was
Ro-
in Wall Street.
She
I've never
was
seen
Roxanne,
Wall Street.
And she was the
I knew she was
mermaid
in
in
Splash.
and she
but I
was
haven't
also
seen
in
Wall Street, so I didn't know
You
she was in
haven't
Wall
seen
Street.
that?
I've not seen
Heidi, Greed is good.
I've not
You haven't
seen
seen
Wall
that?
Street.
Holy cow.
I know Charlie Sheen and Michael Douglas, but I didn't know anybody else that was in that movie.
I know what we're going to be doing later.
And in my mind, I was
3
thinking, well, I know Charlie Sheen wasn't in Splash or, and the other 2 that I like. I know he wasn't in
You got
those,
it. You did okay. You got the fact that they're all movies, at least. So I'm going to give you a half credit. Thanks for listening to these 3 things on The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This portion of The John and Heidi Show is brought to you by The John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying The John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap things up around here with good news, and I think this is good news. It comes your way courtesy of WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. Cancer patient who set up an antique store shop as he was dying. It was his dying wish. Well, it's still in business 20 years later. This is a really cool story. First of all, I think many times when people are, not feeling well, I think they need to keep their mind on other things. A cancer victim who started his business as a dying wish 20 years ago, he and the business are both still going strong.
Oh, wow. He's still
20
around
years later.
too.
Yeah. It says here, 65-year-old David Rolfe believed that he was living on borrowed time when he was diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma, 1995. The diagnosis led him to try to fulfill his lifelong ambition of opening up an antique store. And he did. He thought, well, it's going to get me through my final days. Well, 20 years later.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
He's undergone over 2 decades of radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and medication. His doctors recently gave him the all clear.
Oh,
his
how
shop
cool
is going strong,
that?
and now he's being forced to relocate, though, due to rising business rates and changing shop habits. So he's been there 20 years. Now he's going, you know what? I'm moving to a different location.
That's very cool.
I think it's really cool. He says, I've been interested in antiques and collecting things and junk, and I wanted to end my days in the antique shop. I did not think that I had much time left after contracting cancer, but I've lived for about 20 years longer than I thought I would. I think it's really cool.
Good for him for
And it's
beating the
neat that-
odds. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's going to be relocating. I'm looking at some of the stuff he has in here, and there's some cool stuff. So,
I'm not much of an antique shop
oh,
person.
there's some of this stuff you would really like. Look at this right here. Look at that giant elephant.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I know you'd like that. Because why?
Because I love elephants.
I know you do. All right, that's just a little running gag we have. She does love elephants, but she says it that way all the time. I love elephants. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. I have a link to this story and many more things in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com.